Hey friends, I wanted to talk today about a question that a lot of people ask me when they hear about my pilgrimage. They ask me, are you going to do that indefinitely? Are you doing that forever? Would you ever stop? A lot of people seem curious about this, so thought I'd answer in a video. My hero, Peace Pilgrim, vowed to do her pilgrimage until mankind learned the way of peace. She said that she would walk until offered shelter, that she would fast until offered food, and that she would walk until mankind learned the way of peace. And of course, in her lifetime, and still we have not learned the way of peace. So she took that vow in the early 50s and then died in the early 80s, and she walked on her pilgrimage for the rest of her life, something like 30 years. I have taken no such vow. I have been burned in the past by broad, specific, indefinite, forever commitments. So I'm just on my pilgrimage indefinitely. That's an important part of my pilgrimage. I could stop if I felt like it was the right thing to do. And I could imagine at least two scenarios where I felt like it was the right thing to do to stop my pilgrimage. One would be if I had a partner. I would love to have a partner and live with her and build a life together in a specific location. That has not been the thing so far, hasn't been the right person, the right context, the right situation, but I would love to do that. I could imagine stopping my pilgrimage in that situation. Also, because I'm running the Service Guild, because I'm shepherding this organization, this crew, I could see it making sense to stop my pilgrimage if I felt like traveling a lot was holding back my work and holding back the Service Guild as a whole. There's a lot of fluctuation that comes from traveling from place to place, from country to country, time zone to time zone, and I do pretty well at navigating that complicatedness, complexity, which is different than complexity. But it could be prohibitive at some point where it's like, no, I really need a stable internet connection. I really need to be in the same time zone. I really need to be able to plan things out. I need to have a space of my own. I need to have an office. I don't really have those things right now. I often am held back by how far I can plan and what basic resources I can guarantee that I'll have access to. If I don't know where I'm staying or different places have different affordances, then I may not be able to be like, oh yeah, I can, for example, record a podcast there or host an online course or something like that. So those are the two main scenarios I could imagine where I'd stop my pilgrimage. Of course, there might be others. Also, just if I feel like the life force is asking me to, like God is asking me to, whatever metaphor you want to use, like, yes, it's time. This chapter has come to a close. My chapter at the monastery came to a close. My chapter at St. John's came to a close. This chapter could also come to a close. And in general, at this point in my early mid-30s, at this point, I'm aware of how much can change, and the world can change, and I can change. Probably if I meet myself 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now, there'll be things that really surprise me about who I am or how I show up or what I care about. And I don't want to overcommit to being a specific person or living a specific way. I want to be open to change and open to adaptation and open to flowing with the universe. Yeah, recently I've been thinking about what it might look like if I did stop my pilgrimage. I'm not planning to currently, but different conversations have been making me think about that. And we'll see what that would look like if that came to pass. But I'm currently in Brooklyn, in New York, and I love New York. It's kind of become a hub where I spent probably 4 months here last year. I'll probably end up spending 4 months here this year in different visits. I come here to make music with Aspen for Heart Kiss, for the Love Department, but I also have many friends here, many good allies, and I like being here. I feel alive here. I've talked before about how Brooklyn is Kings County. It's right next to Queens, and so Brooklyn is Kings, and I feel like a king here. I feel like very connected to my king energy, to my strength, to my power, to my gifts. And I like that. It feels good for me and good for the world. I like the people that I meet here, such interesting people in New York, and so powerful and strong and dedicated. They bring out the best in me. And it's very intense. I used to actually really not like New York because it was so sensorily overstimulating. Brooklyn less so, which is nice, but I've found that I really benefit from going to more rural places and going to, I spent most of my 20s in Vermont, for example. I really love Vermont. Certain places in Massachusetts that I grew up in that I really love. New Mexico, where I live now, where my legal address is now, because my dad moved there. Really love New Mexico. So I could see splitting my time between New York and a more rural place, a place that was more grounded, more slow, more filled with nature, trees, the environment, the desert in the case of New Mexico. That would be really good for me, splitting my time, maybe half-half or 3/4 of one and quarter of the other or something. I could see really thriving with that, where I really focus on doing and connecting in the city, and then when I'm in a more rural place, like doing my own projects, doing guild work, learning, growing, deepening, and going back and forth between those things. I could also see it being in upstate. I've visited upstate New York a number of times now and have some good friends there, some good community there, and it's nice because it is so close to New York City, so you can kind of, that would be practically very easy to split one's time between upstate New York and in the city proper. But we'll see. I really have no idea. That's why I like that it's indefinite. I'm going to keep doing this at least through the fall. I think at this point I have things scheduled where I need to be around the world through the fall. It'll have been 4 years now this summer, at the end of this month, at the beginning of July, that I'll have been on my pilgrimage. So, I'm proud of these 4 years, the way that I've lived and the people I've connected to, the projects that I've done during that time that have been made possible by this way of life. And we'll see how it ends. Maybe I'll do another 4. Maybe I'll do 20 years. Maybe I'll stop later this year. I really, really have no idea. So, I just wanted to share my thoughts on that, since people ask me this question all the time. Curious what you think. Feel free to add a comment, what this brings up for you in the comments. Take care, friends.